faster grow it. From the Stack Podcast.
Thanks to our sponsors, AC Infinity. Looking for an easy way to improve air circulation in your grow tent? Well, check out AC Infinity's clip-on oscillating fan. It's compact and can easily be attached to your tent poles, providing targeted airflow exactly where you need it. With 10-speed settings and automatic oscillation, you can customize the fan's airflow to suit your plant's needs at different stages of growth. And because it's IP44 rated, it's resistant to high humidity and heat, perfect for your grow environment. These oscillating clip-on fans can also be connected to your Controller 6.9 Pro to be able to have everything dialed in perfectly for your garden. If you want to upgrade your grow tent today, make sure you get that clip-on oscillating fan from AC Infinity. And don't forget to use discount code TheStash15 at checkout to save a little extra on your purchase.
Well,
Q&A.
it's a Q&A, baby. Q&A, baby.
Hey, we've been talking for like 30 minutes. I forgot we were just going.
That was my question. You guys were answering my questions.
Yeah, that was your Q&A. Well, I have a Q&A. I'm going to jump at you right away because I got a plethora of new beans. What's in your road? Do you guys have a roadmap for the year for what you're going to be growing? Because I know we've all got new genetics recently. We got Grow More Fire hooked us up with some. We've got, for me, I got People Under the Stairs Genetics, Boston Roots. I know you may have recently gotten some chill outs, P, I think. Yes, no?
No.
Eventually one day.
I will eventually. We leave things to the last minute. Yeah. We wanted it to happen, but didn't.
Yeah, we did talk about it. But when that comes, do you guys this year's the only year ever, and it's probably because now I'm in this director position that I'm using roadmaps for everything. Just nice to have for a guide of what you're going to do. And I set up a roadmap for my year of what I'm going to be growing. Because I know these ones I'm keeping for sure. You know what I'm saying? Like the chemistry, 100%. Scooby-Doo, 100%. The chill out OG I have, thousands. This girl over here, the sherbet cream, yeah. And that's already a lot. But damn, I got all these beans. So how am I going to integrate it in without overwhelming myself like I do every year? So I'm going with just adding one pack, so to speak, per run. And I'm trying that out. So I'm just going to do 4 different ones this year. I got this Sherbanger crossed with Girl Scout cookie that I'm excited to run. And then I've got, what was the other? Chem Cake, which is a 4DD, which is a Chembat cross with Wedding Cake. Now I'm going to do multiple packs of those because the phenos, they're F1s. So I want to be able to try to find the one I'm looking for. But I'm not going to take any more this year. I mean, if people want to send me some, great. But I'm going to let them know, hey, this is all I'm doing because I've lost too many good ones in the past year or two by taking on too many genetics and not planning it out. Up. So you guys got a plan this year? Or are you just growing?
Yeah, I mean the same thing with me as far as I've told people, no, don't send me anything. I'm at the point where I have more genetics than I can grow, which is I guess a good problem to have. But as far as roadmap, man, I am so last minute when it comes to what I'm going to grow.
Thank God,
right
Chris. Thank God.
Same way.
Yeah, continue. Sorry.
Same way. Yeah, it's for example, when I just planted a run a month and a half ago now. And it took me a while to really come up with, it took me a while. It took me with a matter of a few days before I planted is when I actually went and decided on what I wanted to grow. Right now I have a Curb Stomper by Prism Labs growing. I have a Sweet Cider by Grow More Fire, right? I've got a American Pie by Grow More Fire. I've got a Runts by Homegrown Co. And then what's the other one I have? Why can't I remember it? Oh, I have Hades Throne by Zaza. So that's what I'm growing right now. And then all those are female. I got rid of all the males. Some of you guys might have saw on my recent update video that I had planted a whole bunch and I had so many males. I just really bad luck there. But as far as my next grow after this, definitely don't have it planned. I'm not the type to plan well in advance. Let me get through this harvest and then let me kind of relook at my genetic stack that I have here and then kind of make that decision on what I want to grow next. I think next time around, I'm probably going to lean more towards feminized so I can not have to deal with killing off a bunch of males. It's never fun doing that.
Especially after you grow them good. I had the best looking chill out OG my last run. I trained the shit out of it. I don't know why. You want to tackle it when it's young, you want to get at it. And I just, for some reason, kind of forgot that I had to, check the sex. Can't you put a dude in the mix? And the one that I trained the least was the only female out of the 3 other ones that I popped. Yeah. And so lessons learned in that case. But the only reason why I've switched up and started planning more is, of course, all the doing in my life. But because I've lost some really good genetics by not giving as much of a, because I'm like, I'll pop 6 of these, 6 of these, 6 of these, 6 of these, and 6 of these. While trying to maintain the ones I already do like, it's like I'm not showing love to the ones as much as I could. Because like we've talked about before, my first run, I don't do a lot of training to it. I want to see the natural characteristics. But I also then I'm not paying attention when I've got 18 new plants and plus my other ones that I'm growing, and I'm trying to find the phenotype that I like the best. I'm just going by the end smoke. Because this last run, that how I let Headbanger go was just because I thought I had an issue in the room, but I also had a different phenotype of Chill Out OG that I wanted to keep that I just didn't even think about it. I was just like, well, I'm popping more soon. It's like, well, you're not even going to guarantee get the same exact phenotype. Like this one had that spicy, earthy funk that I really liked. Fat buds, easy train, everything about it. I mean, luckily I know the breeder. That helps, but it's like more and more I get to the point where even if you know the breeder, that particular phenotype, it's not guaranteed to find the exact one again, unless you're going to be doing a lot of hunting. I don't have the space to do that. So I've got to make sure I've got this planned out and calculated properly. So I'm not stuff over like I've been doing.
Boy. Yep.
Makes sense.
Nope. I often describe my grow style as bull riding. You know, I'm hanging on with one hand for dear life, and I'm just hoping nothing goes wrong, baby. That's really my approach. And you know, I've got a stack of genetics that go for probably like generations, man. I'm sure we all do. If you think about it, you know, I've got a lot of beans. So no, I really just whatever I'm feeling, whatever's maybe hot on the plate. Typically, I have ones that are on the back burner that I've been just like itching to dive into, and yeah, that one in particular right now is that Dead Ops OG by Zaza. Talking about him lots, but he had his Dead Ops. I must have sent me those genetics 9 months ago. Easily, and I'm just finally getting them. I kindly decline people sending me genetics because they're not gonna be grown right away. You know, I simply just don't have the space. I'm 2 plants at a time at most. You know, so yeah. No, it's hang on for dear life. Take it as it comes.
2 plants at a time at most. Are you talking about? Because you like to grow kind of bigger plants, right? You have a 4x4, and then you just kind of spread them out, or what?
Yeah. I've like if I'm like trying to find maybe start with 4, 3, 4, 5, but they tend to be male, you know, and then you know hope for 2. You know,
from seed every time too, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. Other than once, I remember one time you had cloned.
I've cloned a lot.
But I mean, like more of recent. I feel like you were like, and you
recently?
ran it.
Oh, I haven't cloned in years.
No, there was one that I think you planned on doing. You were going to keep it and run it again. What the was it? It was a couple back that you were like, oh, this one was killed. Kind of like you're reacting to this one too.
Shoot, man.
It was something fire because I remember you're like, shit, and the next one wasn't, and you were like, ah.
It was right before Holland's Hope.
Yeah, I remember because the Holland's Hope with Chaos.
God, this is why also keeping a good schedule is important, because then you could probably reflect back on it. As someone who's
a content creator doing it too, but it also go back and look at your video. That's what I do sometimes.
Downside is of the 900 videos I have on my catalog, there's only 130 of them left. So there is no catalog. There's no nothing to refer to. You won't find a dang plant on my channel. Anyways, I digress.
I got a question over here from CTED Live for Mr. Grow It as a fellow Utah State University classmate. What do you think about female to female only pollination for breeding? And are you going to switch over to it? Girl on girl kind of sounds a little kinky.
So this is something that's covered within the course. I actually haven't watched that episode yet, that video yet in that course, so I don't want to misspeak on it. I don't know in detail of what exactly they're talking about in regards to this. So yeah, I have to skip this one. Sorry, I don't have an answer for you. I didn't watch that episode yet.
That's something that we should definitely touch on once you get into it, or find somebody who knows a little bit about that and bring them on. And I feel like Vader would probably know a little.
Yeah, that was a new addition that they added this year. So I completed the course last year, I'm retaking it this year, and they added in so much from the previous year. Definitely worth the money to take the course again this year.
So it's almost like selfing and then having those cross. Like
I don't know. Again, I don't know the details. I assume maybe they're talking about you've got a female, you've got another female, you let them both grow, you reverse one, maybe with STS or colloidal silver, then you use the pollen from that, and then use that to
breed with the other.
Yeah. So that's feminized breeding, right? Is that what they covered in it? Like, again, I don't want to speak beyond. I didn't watch the video, so I don't know. Like, I'm just speculating at this point.
You do know everything, but this one I will let you slide on not having all the information on. So you don't have the answer today. But that's
right.
I love that the evolution of this plant with modern day science and with less regulation, but less restrictions, is becoming, now we're getting these next levels. Before I felt like we're like, what's next? You know what I'm saying? Well, I think the breeding levels is what's going to be next versus what other nutrient can I use or what other light can I have? I think that's the next level is genetics, because people are realizing like, man, you could do all these great things and use all these great products, but if you got genetics, well, unfortunately, you're kind of just at where you're at, you know?
Yep, I agree. Two Poetic asks, Two Poetic asks,
the same one.
If you were going to grow with the sole intent of producing rosin, how would you go about doing pheno hunts? Would you do the pheno hunt with flower or just do that through rosin? I feel like it would be hard to do with rosin as you're getting a percentage of your flower yield. So let's break this down into two questions. So if you were to grow for the sole intent of producing rosin, how would you go about doing pheno hunts?
So that's a question, actually, something we're touching on and tapping into at Franklin Fields. So, like, shout out Matt, but Matt ain't a consumer like those of us. So what he's looking at for is a little different. He's looking at the flower yield. He's looking at the growth of the plant. He's not looking at the type of trichomes that are producing and how healthy those heads are and the stalks and the glands are overall. We've noticed that depending on how the plant's harvested, you can't even get proper results to see, because you need a certain percentage for your wash to see what you would get for extraction. And if you don't get that initially, well, then you're going to move on. Your yield for the flower isn't as important as your yield is for the extraction, if that makes sense. It seems like having more flower would be a better result, but you could put 2 pounds of flour in and get a 2% or a 1% return, or you could put a pound of flour in and get a 5 to 10% return, and that's going to be the differentiating factor. But then you're looking at things like your overall quality. You know, is it going to be something that's washing heavy yield but not going to have heavy terpene and overall potency? Because the market is different than your home grow. So if you're doing it at a home grow, you're going to want to look at that percentage, of course. So you want to initially wash that fresh flower and see what you're getting from extractions. It's hard because a lot of people are growing for everything, trying to hit every level. The stuff that's really popular may not have crazy terpenes on flower, but when you extract it and you agitate it, you can get a lot more out of it. We got a video on CLtv we're going to be doing with the hash rosin boys in the back, kind of touching more on that and figuring out more how home growers can tap in on that more.
Yep. That's fair, man. I think it's one of those processes that you're going to follow from beginning to end. You know, there might be an ROI factor, your return on your investment. How much are you spending on the genetics? How much are you getting in a return? Are these genetics producing enough to justify the return? Because remember, that return is a fraction of what you're putting in, right? So you, like you say, you might put in a pound in, but you might only get 3% of that back in concentrate, 10% of that back. So, you know, you might get some crazy genetics that give a really low return. So you just got to ask yourself, is that something that you want to spend an entire 10 months processing? And then, if it's going to get agitated and increase its appeal by the end of the process, that just poses a whole other set of variables, right? Because if it doesn't smell like jack at the beginning, but you agitate it and you get something out of the end result, how do you figure it out until you actually do it, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And Don got a good point here. That's what we'll do in the commercial setting. Just do a quick ice shake test in a mason jar. You know what I'm saying? See what you're getting in the extraction side. See at the bottom, look at it, do a little bit of measurements there in the weight and see what your percentage is. And that's a good starting point, definitely. But it's a big factor in terms of like your lighting, the healthiness of the plant, when you harvest the plant, how gentle you are with harvesting it. It all comes into it. Hash is a science, man. It's a science and an art. And I am a simpleton, so I'm gonna have someone else explain it for you when I got him on the show.
I'm not a rosin guy myself, but one thing that I have a rosin press. I mess around sometimes when I want rosin, but for the most part, I'm no expert here. What I heard in one of my comment section, that's always factual what you hear in the comment section, but somebody had mentioned that I think they commented on my how to grow dense buds video. They had mentioned that dense buds isn't the best for pressing rosin, that like the loose airier stuff is better for pressing. I'm not sure if you guys have any knowledge in regards to that or not.
So that's the thing too, is like when you've got those big buds like that, you definitely want to break them down more versus just giant buds, because you've got trichomes and different types of trichomes versus inside and outside, and what they take in terms of damage when they're being shredded apart or ripped apart. If you're using something like a debucker, you're going to squish and damage those trichomes more. If you're using an automated machine versus hand trimming, you're definitely going to have issues. You got to be very gentle with it. So it's crazy, man. Like there's hash farmers. There's people who just only grow plants never for the flower, but just for extraction. And those like Celtic cultivators, one we know in the community, the dude knows his stuff, man. His quality in terms of the flavor is just next level. And he grows flower that I'm not really a huge fan of, but in the extraction, absolutely. And that's someone who knows what they're going for. They're not just like, oh, we'll see what we can get from the flower we're already growing. They're consciously growing for extraction. And we're starting to do that in one of our rooms at Franklin Fields, is trying to grow a certain area of just for extraction. And that's the thought process. The guys just went from the lab, went over and manually harvested some of this stuff and very gentle with it. And they saw a 2% increase in return, which is crazy. Just from gently harvesting it versus being more aggressive, the scissors and pulling it in and using a debucker on the massive pieces. It's not as advantageous unless you're just having flour. So you treat them separately, or else you get the most you can out of the extras, so to speak. It happens.
Got another question here. What are good ways to pheno hunt on a small scale? I think I'll answer it first. I have a plant count max of 12, so I'm limited to only 12. So I used to do pheno hunts and clones and keep it and clone over and over again, but I kind of stopped doing that since I have so many seeds. It's like, just go from seeds and harvest. But back when I used to do pheno hunts, I think the best way to kind of make use of a true pheno hunt is, first of all, being able to plant at least 10 or 12 at the minimum, right? Some people are stuck with the 6 plant max. If you are stuck with a 6 plant max, maybe just plant all 6. I would probably do feminized, because if you plant regulars and all of a sudden you've got 3 males and 2 females left, it's like, well, not really a pheno hunt anymore. So you might want to stick with feminized and kind of look for a pheno out of the feminized, and then just find a keeper there and then just clone over and over and over again. But yeah, I would just max out your plant count and then potentially just go feminized, and then kind of choose characteristics from there.
Yeah, because you got to be careful. The plant clout police are always coming by. Yeah, it's definitely true though. Like I had a 4x4 I was running for a while only, and I was trying to do a pheno run. I'm not even gonna call it a hunt, because I just grew 6, and I was like, well, we'll see which one I'm gonna clone out of these 6. And it was almost just like make with what you got. So if you got 4 and you have 4 feminized beans, out of those 4, that's as big as you're getting. And which one are you going to keep? Well, clone all 4 of them, label them as A, B, C, and D, or whatever color system or numbers, whatever you want. That's your hunt. And you may have to do it for the whole year before you figure out the exact keeper you want, but you got to look at it. The small characteristic differences may be enough that you want to just keep that versus the other. And sometimes they may be all identical depending on what generation they are. So you don't have much of a hunt going, but there's a lot of variety within the same cultivar. So sometimes just running 4 alone, you could still find something you want. Sometimes you need to run 30, 40, 50, but the better the breeder, the more, I wouldn't say the better the breeder, the more specific and calculated the breeder and experienced, the better you're going to see in terms of stability of phenotypes and what generation they're putting out. But I know people who want F1s who want to search and want to hunt and want to find the specific characteristic they want versus people who want something dialed in completely or clone only. So it's really preference, but make do with what you have and just keep a notebook, keep some sort of notes together so you can figure out which one's worth keeping and which one's worth ditching.
Good question. Wes De Niro asks, had the lights out for like 10 minutes while my flowering plants were with lights on. Would they harm? Tough to just give you a blanket answer one way or another. Some genetics are a little bit more susceptible to hermaphroditic tendencies than others. Personally, I've had power outages happen for hours. Not a big deal. You know, in my opinion, the worst outages are the ones that are just like that, where it's like out for a second, on for a second. Those, in my opinion, are the worst. But again, I haven't had an issue, so it's tough to say it's one way or the other. But generally speaking, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. My
Really
power's
quick,
gone out for almost a whole week intermittently, and I didn't have any issues with herminitis, stunted growth. That was about it.
Yep. Chris, you had anything to add to that? I think it was pretty self-explanatory.
No, I mean, I think the odds are that there's no issue there. It's not going to harm.
Millsbury 420 asks, vermiculite or perlite?
Ooh. Depending on your media, I mean, some already come pre-mixed. If you're mixing it all yourself, I'd probably go for vermiculite. Perlite, people say with the sustainability isn't nearly as good. Or there's
I didn't know that.
There's different things. There's a lot of people who just say at the grocery store, and sometimes I have to look it up. And then I was
going to say perlite.
Well, I see some logic behind it.
I've seen people grow in pure perlite. Nothing else other than perlite. I have never seen anybody grow in pure vermiculite. So, yep. So good question. Yeah,
I think Brandon summed it up pretty good here. Vermiculite is for water retention, and perlite is for airflow. So they're kind of
so that's what I'm saying.
being
Depending on
opposite
your media,
benefits.
I feel like I'm getting a million messages. My bad. I feel like when depending on your media, with cocoa, I really needed more water retention. Unless you're getting something that's already pre-mixed, but I was dealing with it like I had to water so much. It was just overwhelming, depending on the environment too. And I didn't have it at the time when I was doing cocoa. It was just more intermittent with the humidity. So it would be like one day it's dry as hell, the next day it's not. It just depends on, again, what you're using. If you need to retain that water more, add that in. But a lot of people just do the mulch layers and things like that. But if you're doing, just like say Pro Mix, it's going to come with perlite most times already in it. It's already going to have things pre-mixed. Almost most medias that a lot of people are getting are already going to be pre-mixed. It's only if you're going to go organic or you're going to do your own that you're going to start adding in the different sides, or if you're dealing with issues like buying those blocks of cocoa. That's what I was doing. Those suck.
Straight Homegrown asks, this is a perfect question too. I'm going to give you a smart ass answer first, and then my real answer. My autos are only growing max 14 inches. What am I doing wrong? Growing autoflowers. Second, nothing, man. Autoflowers are going to do their own thing. They're going to take on a world of their own. Some training can help stunt that growth a little bit. They're on a world of their own, man. There's just not a whole lot you can do with an auto. You just like Elsa would tell you from Frozen. You just gotta let it go. All right. Sorry for my own satisfaction. Sorry, Mikey had another one real quick. Week 4 autoflowers. My lower leaves are yellowing. Is this a nitrogen or nutrient issue? Started LST this week as well.
I kind of want to answer the other gentleman first.
Sorry, go ahead.
The 14 inches max. So like you could see stunted growth for several different, there's so many different variables, right? That it could be. One main thing that you might not be looking at is the moisture content in the medium. You know what I mean? If you're saturating that medium, lack of oxygen there, the root zone, you'll definitely see a stunt in growth. Another thing, if you're growing like organically and you're in a fabric grow pot, for example, it's drying out from all sides. Microbes are going dormant. I've seen stunt growth with autoflowers due to that. You know what I mean? They can only grow so much before they flip over to flowering. And then kind of lighting is another thing to kind of look at. There could be a whole long list of other things to look at, but these are the top things that come to mind, which is make sure your light levels are good, that you're giving enough PAR in order for that growth. So those are kind of the main things that come to mind for that one. What was the next one, P? Sorry.
It was just along the same lines of sorry, autoflowers. My lower leaves are yellowing. Is this a nitrogen or nutrient issue?
Oof.
Again, go ahead.
If the lower leaves are starting to yellow from the tip upwards, then you're looking at nitrogen deficiency. I would check the ppm, assuming that you're going like synthetics. Check like the EC or the ppm, whichever way you go about it, of the runoff, and then kind of go from there. Or unless you have one of the meters that actually stick right into the medium, you could check that as well. Maybe it's a pH issue, for example, and your pH is off, and then you're seeing deficiencies on that avenue. So a couple things to look up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly what the fuck I was going to say. That's where I was going to say with the nutrient issue. Sometimes it is pH related when you're doing that, and it'll only be because the plant can't uptake those nutrients because it's either too high or too low. So, I mean, there's like a spectrum that you could hit, and if you're too far one way or too far the other, it's not going to intake those nutrients, no matter what you're feeding in the water or like putting in your water. Just won't make a difference. So you got to make sure that everything's good. Using those soil or media pH meters work really well, so you can get right near the root without damaging it, versus your water or your runoff that could be manipulated by what's in the media itself. But it's definitely good. Yeah. And that's pretty much universal too. Like I've seen that from synthetic to organic. If you're lacking, the plant's going to show those specific signs starting from the bottom up, versus different stress kind of start in different areas. The overall look when you're like, my plants are yellowing, it's like, well, how did it start? And if you're not paying close attention to the plant, you don't really know.
I just want to clarify too, though, because I see that Straight Homegrown says, well, that made up my mind. Done with autos. Although I take a very sarcastic approach to autos, one I've only taken relatively recently because I realized how triggering it was to people. And I just thought, I'm putting my foot down. I don't want anyone to be swayed by that smartassery or my opinion of autos. Just because I say one thing or the other, there are a lot of great growers out there that can not only grow autos, but can crush autos. And they do an incredible job every single time. And there is a place for autos. I said it in my video, if you're growing in, like, if you only have one tent, you're in an apartment, you got one closet, you have no space, man. You can grow veg and flower in the same room, no issues. That's a huge benefit, especially when the wife's taking up the other closet with all her shoes. It's one thing or the other. But don't ever let us sway you, man. If you're having issues with autos, I don't want to asshole, but you might have issues with photos. These are plants and they grow, and we are humans and we make mistakes. So take it as a learning lesson and run with it.
Absolutely.
Don't give up.
I mean, if you're having plant problems, I feel bad for you, son. Got 99 problems, but an auto ain't one. I don't fuck with autos. Bars. I wrote that. But when you're dealing with autoflowers, there's definitely time and a place. Some people prefer it because of your plant count, and you want to be able to keep going because you can't do a bunch of clones. And then also those like P who just like to run through genetics. Difference is you don't have that time to train and do everything you want to do because, well, it's going to flip when it flips. As we're with P, the difference is he's making these beasts, 2 beasts. Well, if it just decided when it's going to go into flower, are they going to be as big? Who knows? Some of those you fetch for 2-3 months, it's a beast, a whole tent, yep. Like
it's 3 months and I need it to. Like, this is what my perpetual system relies on now. So this is what I need. And anyways, that's just what it is. Autos serve a purpose. They don't for me. But it is what
just real quick before we move on. Jumbie 420 had a buddy say that he could taste the difference between autos and a photo as bro science. That's the craziest shit I've ever heard. But I believe it because I know I've got people who probably said the most to me, and my brain just says,
yeah. There is no difference, man, between an auto and a photo. But you don't tell them that. Okay.
Chris, did Dr. Bruce say that? Okay.
What? No difference between auto. There's differences, right?
Well, yeah,
no.
Like,
taste.
Okay, right.
You can taste.
Clarify that because people are gonna be like, "What? There's no difference."
There's no difference. Then why does pigeons hate them so much?
Yeah, I think that it's definitely bro science. But again, that's the beautiful thing about this plant is you can still tell somebody all the signs in the world, but their personal palate and their personal self may disagree. Like I still have people telling me, they're like, man, this shit's 30% THC. You get bombed out, and I'll smoke it. And be like, huh. Meanwhile, I have this 17 to 20% sherbet cake, and I'm toasted. I don't know. It's preference. Even though science will tell me that the higher THC, well, that's going to get you more of the stone. It's going to get, well, no, it's not. Some science says otherwise. There's a lot of different things that'll come into to play, but herb is very special in that sense.
I've been saying for years, I can taste the difference between green and purple.
It doesn't mean nowadays. Good luck, because everything's purple. It seems like the chemistry is purple. It doesn't taste at all. Like you wouldn't if it's in the blunt. You would, yeah.
Anyways, good questions. Good questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question unless it's someone saying they can taste the difference between a photo and auto. I'm just kidding. You tell your buddy that.
Knock it off.
Yeah, your friend. You tell him he's trolling you.
Clip us. Send it to him.
There was a question a little while back that I thought was a good one, which is what do you do when you store your seeds? And I can answer this one first. So dark, number one, it's got to be in a dark place. We don't want any light to be on the seeds at all. Dry is the other one. Now, I'm fortunate enough, that's the only good reason why me being in a dry place, it's very dry where I live. It's 24% RH in the room right here. So that's very dry. So I can just keep it out really in this room, no problem. And then the last one, a lot of people go after, but I neglect, is the temperature. So a lot of people store it in cooler temps. Now I honestly just over the years have had luck in just normal room temperature, and it's been upwards of 75, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, just storage in my room. And I've still had good germination rates, if close to 100%. So that's me. What do you guys do for storing seeds?
Man, I'm super detailed for me.
Yeah, mine too. Go ahead with yours.
Just in a box, huh?
In their original packaging in the basement in a closet. That's me, man.
Pretty straightforward, yeah, easy.
Yep. It is. It's nothing crazy. Dark, cool, man. Dark and cool.
Well, I just feel like unless they're damaged, unless they get exposed to extreme conditions either side, they're seeds. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be okay. But it's
just look at Walmart, man. They have shelves of them just hanging there in packages, shipped across the. You know what I mean? Like
that's what I'm saying. I just really feel like it's people overthink it sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't want to be in a humid area, right, with the bag open. Right, there's less chances of it, germinating there, or directly exposed to light that could potentially harm it. So, but yeah, a lot of the stuff is going to be viable even when you're not keeping real close eye on your storage conditions.
I had a buddy who bought a thing like you, Chris, like cannon control, but it's that little terp cooler thing I showed you guys, just to store his seeds. I was like, all right, bud, do you, pal? He always does the most on everything, like the most. You go into his room, he doesn't have a 5-gallon bucket. He's got all these like beakers and all these weird things. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing here? Why are you doing the most? And he's like, I spend like fucking 30, 40 hours in my grow. I'm like, you've got a 5x5. What are you doing in there so long? Like, why? But he's always doing the most.
Going over the top. Yeah. You know what? And you know what? I bet you there's people out there, and this guy probably isn't one of them, but there's probably people out there where genetics are their income. It's their livelihood. It is everything. Yeah. And you cannot just leave them stored in the original container in your basement in a closet. They need to be preserved. They need to be taken care of, that kind of thing. Sure.
Yeah, those are prohibition states. I could see still in that sense too, where it's your job, or just transition into legal states. In this case, this one here is like, bro, go to Mesquite. Yeah. Come on, man. You know.
These have been some really great questions, guys. We really appreciate you guys participating. If you didn't know and you made it this far through, we actually record these episodes live on Twitch, twitch.tv/FromTheStash. You can come join us every Thursday. We go live 1 p.m. Central, 2 Eastern, and 11 Pacific. Little stumble, but I got it. Come join the conversation. All of our questions were taken from a live digital audience, so come and join us. Also, real quick, don't forget to check out www.fromthestash.com, where you can get all the latest episodes, access to our merch, and even a little bit extra information if you just take a look. That was pretty awesome, boys. You got anything to add to that before we?
That's actually https semicolon /
Yeah.
/ I love it.
But there was a time. Yeah, there was a time. You got to add the www, okay?
Yeah, otherwise, you don't know it's a website.
You don't know it's a website, okay? They could be putting it into their phone. Okay, he said, boop, boop. Anyways, guys.
.com. Where's the app?
The app, yeah. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. There was one more thing
new
I thought we
content?
should mention. Well, no, we'll end out the epi. Oh, that's what it was. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're going to end this. Let's have a quick smoke session with Twitch because that's
I got
what we
a little
do
bit
that you can't see here on YouTube, guys. What a great episode. Huge shout out to Wink for running the P's and Q's. YouTube, we're out here, right?
Yeah, bye YouTube.
We out here.
Peace.